Hello everyone, I am Bradley Sward, Associate Professor of Computer Information Systems at the College of DuPage in Glen Ellen, Illinois. And this video is part 14 in a continuing series of taking a game called Boxxle Sokoban and converting it from GameMaker Studio 2 into a C++/SFML engine. And again, we're 10 parts removed from the GameMaker portion, and now we are well into getting closer to the end here than anything else of creating the engine with the game on top of it. So today we're going to make the main menu. You'll see that in a minute, but again, the whole point of the game is you've got a guy walks around, pushes blocks into goals, count how many steps the guy takes, and call it a day. Every tile is 60 by 60, at least in the main game, and we're using 720p resolution throughout the entire game. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be installing this. We're going to create the button class, a button GUI class. We're not going to do any text with it this time around. We're going to save that for a future video to be able to, because we need to have a text class so it can draw something out on the screen. We're not going to make it we're not going to go any crazier. It's not going to look as good. It's up to you to find a better font. I'm not necessarily going to worry about that for this version of the game. Maybe I will. We'll see. I'll see about finding a decent looking font. So we're just going to have buttons, and actually we're going to have mouse over events with this video. And when I click on the specific buttons, it'll take me to the specific rooms. We have all the infrastructure here. This can quit the game. We got to find a way to add a little bit of functionality to quit the game, and this should take me to any other room. So we have everything together. Once we get the button class going, it should be relatively simple to figure out how to tie it all together so we have a fully working, at least a skeleton of the game, and then we can focus on the real game after we get the text going. So that's where we are. And so here, one thing I had to do was go into my GameMaker editor, and I pulled in, what did I pull in? I pulled in the button sprite. Oh, I pulled in the wrong button sprite. Shoot. You need the main menu button and the main menu background. The background is just one image, so that one was easy. But what I need to do here is take this one, main menu button, go into an image, and then go image, and then do export to PNG, and what that'll do is it'll actually set it up so all the images go into one big master image, all the animation frames, and it goes horizontally. So that's what we want to do, and let me go ahead and do that. And when you do that, then what happens is, I'm putting the resource files in here. Here is the main menu background as we were expecting. And then now the main menu button.png looks like this, and that's of course to show you that that's transparency there. And again, it shows me both images, and now we know how to do this because we can make this work. And so animation frame 0, animation frame 1, we're going to do the same stuff with the button class here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is set up, so what have we been doing before? We have Boxxle game room level. Now we want to have a main menu for the room type. So I'm going to create a new item, main menu room .h, and I'm going to steal the other room stuff, the Boxxle game level, steal this code, put it into the main menu room. So I say just make sure I call it main menu room, have the constructor, file name, level number. No, we don't need any of that stuff. We just got just the basics to get going. We don't need any of the private data. We will, the constructor will handle all of the details here, just like in where is it down here? Boxxle game level room. We can do everything inside the constructor, and in this case, I'm going to put everything back the way it was for the Boxxle game room since I'm here already. Comment everything back in. Okay, and we're not going to worry about file stuff. We'll hard code, we'll hard bake it since we're only going to have 5 different things in the room as opposed to hundreds of them. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And just for the sake here, I can go ahead and steal this so I can put it into the .cpp file, main menu room.h, and I will implement that code in a CPP file and steal this. We don't need, what do I need? I don't need much. I guess I didn't need much of anything at all. Oops. Oh, no. What am I doing? Oh, boy. What am I? Main menu room, main menu room. And then I need to call up to SFML room. Do I need to add anything? Nope. Oops. Oh, geez. I hit that button one time over, right? Main menu room.cpp. And now I have my base outline. And this is where I'll add all my objects. And so And for right now, I also have to change it so that my game initialization room, instead of using the Boxxle game level room, we'll switch this over to main menu room. So we don't need, I will keep this just as a reminder of how to do the syntax to change in for later. But now I need a new main menu room. And now we can go ahead and run this, and there should be nothing there, right? My game should run with nothing going on in it because it's a completely empty constructor, so there's no objects in my scene, so the game is running 60 frames a second of doing nothing. So a lot of these things are like, as I'm thinking about it, while I'm thinking about it, let's do something. So let me play with the game initialization room so I can go ahead and add the main menu button in the main menu background. And now what is the name of this? Yep, I can just basically steal this main menu background. .png is the way I have it set up, and then main menu button. So I have, because obviously again I can't use these textures if I don't put them in the game, and it'll crash the holy heck out of me really quickly if I go ahead and do that. So main menu button, main menu background. Good, so now I can at least use those sprites. And right now, yeah, we say there's 2 animation frames for the button, 1 animation frame for the background image. So now that goes into game initialization room, so I think I'm pretty much done. That's all the sprites we need, at least for this step. So I can get rid of that. Yeah, of course I want to save that. And so now I'm going to go ahead and play with tile set, but I'm going to modify it. It's going to be my main menu background image. Main menu background.cpp, did I call it? Yep, main menu background.cpp, and main menu background.h. I'm repurposing since we got the thing working. Then we can work with it. So now the tile set should be main menu background instead. And so XY position, step override. In this case, I do not need a step override anymore. I'm going to get rid of the step. And I don't need an animation speed by any means here, so I can just go ahead and put main menu background, and call up and say at 0, 0, or sorry, at XY, which will be 0, 0, put in main menu background. And it's 1 animation frame, so I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I do have to include main menu background.h instead, and I don't need IOStream anymore. And this gets a nothing here. Alright, so now I can theoretically add a main menu background image object to the main menu room here. I just need to include that file. Include main menu background.h. And remember, it's create instance, and I create new not SFML, main menu background, 0, 0. And let's run it out and check it out and see. I can't find tile set.h. Where? Here? Okay, this requires main menu background.h now. Oh, just can't find it. I don't need it anymore. Whatever, just leave it as such. And there we go. So there is my background image. Couple clicks, couple things here and there, and now we have our main menu background. And so now we're ready to add the button class and continue on our way. Okay, so button class. The button class is going to be a little more complicated, obviously, right? We're going to have to add some code to the object class, the base SFML object class on top of a few other things. But this is actually engine code. Everything you see here, everything that doesn't have SFML in front of it is basically game code, or just game initialization room is kind of like a hybrid, somewhere in the middle kind of code. But we're going to create an SFML button class. And so .h file, SFML button. And so the .h file, and the only thing is, like, it's just like every other object, so I'm going to take actually the hero this time around, because we're going to need at least a step event to do stuff and take over for the game object for what to do. So I'm going to take button, and I'm just going to pop it in and say, okay, my class is called SFML button. It derives from SFML object. where do I want to put the button on the screen? And we'll fix up, actually, let's kind of do that now. And I go, well, what the const std : string reference, what is the resource? What resource do I want to use? Because that's one of those options. What do I, what graphic do I want to use? If this thing is supposed to be a general button class, then I should be able to, and then, put it in a specific place on the screen. Yeah, that's one thing. But if I want to use a completely different graphic, as long as I understand that the 0 animation frame is the off and the 1 is the on, I can use whatever I want as long as I set everything up correctly. So I don't need the on alarm event, but I do need the step event, so I can implement these guys. Put them into the .cpp. Oops, what did I do? What did I do? Oh, I didn't do anything, right? Okay, so then where is my SFML button? I just got to drag it into the engine code. There we go. So now what do I want to do? Of course, I want to pass up, and I want to say, okay, SFML object, that's my parent. I say, this is what I want here. I want to pass my X, pass my Y, pass my resource, and then in this case, there's 2 horizontal frames and 1 vertical frame. That's the rule. And for right now, nothing here. And step event for the moment as well. Nothing here that we're overriding. But we do want to call the parent just for the moment. Maybe we'll change our minds later, so I guess it's not a nothing here. But I do know we need to take over the step event. I don't know if we're going to need to call the parent or not just yet. Okay, so this is an SFML button with this, that, and the resource. So now we can actually go ahead and set up and put 3 of these or 4 of these inside the room. And so I can go back into my main menu room here, and I can tie in and include, include SFML button. And what's cool about this for what we can do in C++ versus what we can do here or in C++ versus GameMaker is, trust me on this, we only need the one SFML button. We're actually going to add a couple little bells and whistles to the button class, so I do not have to override button every single time I want to have different behavior. We're actually going to pass in a delegate function to call when I click the button, and maybe depending on whatever, we might add a couple other resources. But for right now, I think this is pretty cool here. And just for the sake of showing that the animation works, just for the moment here, I'm going to say set image speed to 0.1, just so we can watch it very slowly go back and forth between the 2 animation frames, just to make sure everything's working as we want it to. So coming back here, okay, just to put some stuff in the room for the brief moment, and then I'll go back and find out where these things should go. I'll look into my GameMaker file and go ahead and change things up. So I'm just going to put 4 of the buttons in here, and I'm just going to put them in different Y locations. I do not remember where. And I'll move this one over 400, 0, 4000. So this should create, oh yeah, the resource key. And I also need the main menu button as the resource for this thing. I don't need the other parameters because that's taken care of for us by SFML button. Did I do it right? I think I did this time. There we go. And so there we go. Oh my goodness. Okay, it does flash a little more than I anticipated, so watch your eyes if you're sensitive to that. But here you have it. I have 4 flashing box objects or button objects now working for me. And so let me move this. I don't remember how large I made this thing. Maybe 550. I think it was, what, 500? We'll find out pretty quickly here. Yep, here you go. So yes, there's my flashing object, animation frame, animation 1. And so now let me go back into GameMaker and see where to put these objects and kind of give it that opportunity to understand what I'm doing. Okay, so here are my coordinates. The quit game button starts at 720,510. Level 1 starts at 6190, level 2, 6350, level 3, 6510. I'm commenting this now, so when I go to fill in things later, I don't screw up and put the wrong button to the wrong behavior. And when I run this, watch again for the flashing right now. this is what you get, and there are my objects. Those are, and it looks pretty good so far. And so now my next step here is to make it, instead of flashing, make it so that the mouse can trigger this mouse enter, mouse leave. And to be able to do that, I need to be able to create a function, a bool function, that basically asks, is a point inside of a given sprite? And so we'll write that right now. Okay, so I'm going to generate a bool function, and I'm going to say something like, a function is point within sprite bounds. Sounds like I'm writing Java with such a long name. And I'm going to pass in an x value and a y value. And if I want to later on, I guess I could pass in a, let's see, if I'm going to get the position, why don't I try and I'll just do this as such. Let's just leave it right now. And again, we could always add, a lot of times you can add this with x, y, and even the SFML library comes with different functions, so you could set x and y, or you could pass a vector. There's different ways you could go about doing this. But again, I'm trying to keep to this here. Okay, so what I can do here is fix this up. All right, so I need my SFML object. Where's my SFML object? That's CPP. Where is that function? Probably at the bottom again. Okay, so good. So what's going to happen here is I need to test a lot of positions in space against the sprite. And so let's see if I can. So I'm going to have a square box, and I have a position in space. And so I basically have to do 4 checks to make sure that a point is within the 4 axes. So I'm going to have to make sure that the x value, so let me see if I can, do I have anything that I can pull up? I can pull up the button, do I have it right here, the button.png? And so what I can do here, let's just presume this yellow image is the image I'm talking about. And so I could say if the x position of the mouse is greater than this left bounds, less than the right bounds, greater than the top bounds, and less than the bottom bounds, then it's contained within the sprite. All 4 of those have to be true. And if I'm around in any part of that, one of those 4 conditions ends up being a false condition, and therefore it is not inside, so it returns a false. So in this case, so like in this, I'm going to return a true if I cannot find a counterexample, if the 4 things that can go wrong here. So I can say if, let's see, this is where things get interesting here. Like, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to say, okay, if the x value is greater than my object's x value, and that value is stored in the sprite, if I remember correctly, sprite arrow get position dot x. All right. So that's the first step. Is the x value I'm talking about, I'm querying, is it greater than the x position of the sprite, because the sprite is positioned in the upper left-hand corner. And so that's one of the 4 conditions. And, or, if this is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to opt out, right? I guess we could do it one way or the other. Let me do it the way I was thinking of doing it here. If this is true and x is less than, I guess you could say greater than or equal to here, and you could say if x is less than the position dot x plus my get, is it not get, it's just sprite width. And remember the sprite width function takes into account animations, so we don't have to worry about it being the giant large image, and it only handles half of it in this case because we're dealing with the button class. And so that's part 2. And then I just repeat this for the y coordinates. And if all of these come up, I guess we return true here. If this is true, and this is true, and this is true, and this is true. Otherwise, if any one of these things fall through, the point is not within the bounds. And so here, if y is greater than or equal to get position dot y, and y is less than position dot y plus sprite height. Return true, return false. And so it's pretty ugly and dirty, but it gets the point across. That point has to be within all 4 points. So what I can do here in the button class, now that I have this going for me, is I can pull in the mouse class. We haven't done any of this in a while. So SFML mouse.h Okay, and we can say, okay, get me, here, let's see, it's been a while, so let me see, SFML mouse, get instance, let's see, get mouse position, what does it return? It returns a vector 2i, call it mouse is equal to that. So now I have the mouse position, and what I can say here is, I can say set image index to 0, and if is point within sprite bounds, mouse.x, mouse.y equals true, set image index to 1. This kind of is the mouse enter, mouse leave event hard-coded into a step event. And I don't know if this is going to work. Let's find out. Compile, compile, compile. Compiler warning we'll have to fix. Holy cow, look at that. So I've got this going for me. Look at that, amazing, right? The bound, yeah, you got to test it, right? Left bounds, top bounds, left bounds, and yep, bottom and top. So yep, it is working. And notice I go over here, because the actual sprite is double the size, remember, right? But that sprite with function we wrote last time around takes that into account. So everything we do is okay. And so it will work, and I presume at this point it's generic. I would have to do more testing on it. But at this point we have this ability, and now it's just a matter of figuring out what to do when I actually go ahead and click on these buttons. Other than trying to sell you inexpensive luxury couches, and I gotta admit that looks pretty inexpensive, but I don't know if it looks so luxury. Have you ever worked with a function pointer before? If you've worked in C#, you've worked with delegates, and so it's the same concept in that what I want to supply now is a parameter, and if you've never done this before, it's funky and the syntax is god-awful in C++. I want to supply what's called a callback function. If I go ahead and click on that inside the the bounds of that sprite, we already have it turning on and off. But if I click on this thing, I want it to do whatever behavior that button should do. So the fact of level 1, level 2, level 3 should go to their level rooms and load up a game and get ready to play, and the quit game button should quit the game. So every one of those 4 buttons needs to do a different behavior. And so the fun goes here. I need to set up what is called a function pointer, and it's a variable like anything else. It's just, again, it's funky to use. It's funky to think this way, that you can have a function as a variable. And in this case, we were going to use a void function that that returns nothing and takes nothing in. So this shows you how to set up a function pointer to a function that takes in no parameters and returns an integer. So I'm going to steal this because this is what I kind of want. And what's this? The variable name is actually the thing's halfway jammed in there, function pointer. Isn't that screwed up? So what I want on top of all of this stuff here for the button class, let me get to the button.h here. This is private information. I need this function pointer, and I'm going to call it callback. And so it's the call, okay, and then it's a void function. So the syntax is absolutely horrendous. Void return type, pointer callback, function pointer, no parameters here, and it's called callback. And so now here I'm going to use a capital C, and then I'll use the lowercase c here for this here. Oops, void lowercase c callback, no semicolon. So again, so now I can pass in any global function that is a void that returns nothing as a parameter to this button class. And so I can go ahead here and go to my button.cpp class and fill in this final understanding. And so now, yep, okay. So then so this is one of those, let me pull this over here. So now I have one member variable. So I can go ahead and do this, and I say callback with a capital C is equal to callback with a lowercase c. You're like, oh my goodness, where the heck is all of this going? Because this is crazy stuff. And now what I can do here is say, okay, if I am inside of here, and because this is what this is saying, I'm inside the sprite bounds, now I can say if SFML mouse : get instance arrow is button pressed, like the moment I click on something, and I gotta say SF mouse colon left arrow key, or left mouse button. If this is true, if the button is pressed, call my callback. Let me make sure I got the syntax right. Let me just rebuild everything and make this work. Okay, so far so good. Everybody's happy, and yeah, everything's this is happy. Everything is broken here on the main menu side because we obviously don't have anything. And so what I can do here is I can set up global functions. And again, they have to be void return types. And I can say quit game, do nothing. I'm going to put in breakpoints just before we do any of the actual code. I'm just going to go ahead and set up everything here. And I'll set a play level 1. If I can just go ahead and do this, go ahead and do that. And they're global functions, they're not member functions in any way. And now what I can supply as a fourth parameter, this is my quit game, I can say quit game. And then here I can say, I can supply this as play level 001, and I forgot I can just click and do. Whoops, comma. So now every one of these button objects has a unique function that it will call when that callback function is called from inside the class when you click the button. And so let me put the breakpoints in here, and let's enable the breakpoints in here so we can see this. And so now, okay, so there we go. There's my stuff. I got mouse pointer. I click, and there it goes. I've hit play level 1. Run the game again. I click. I hit play level 2 function. I hit this again. I got play level 3 function. And I hit this again, and I've got the quit game function. Isn't that pretty cool? That is god-awful syntax, but we have it working. We have the correct behaviors for the button clicks going to the correct places. And now, since we're here, I can go back to wherever that was, game initialization room. And now I can steal this guy, and I can use this to my benefit inside of not that room, this here, this stuff here. I can say, okay, I want to change room. And so I have to be able to get the game class. I can't just, or do I? Let me see. Do I? No, it's a global function. That's what makes this interesting. I do not have access to any functionality of the main menu room itself because I am not in there. And so what I have to do is I have to find a way to change room. So I have to be able to get there somehow. So it's a little convoluted now since we haven't thought about how to make this any easier up to the moment. But I can include, let's just see, I don't know how much I'm going to have to include, but I'm going to have to get the game, get instance, so I can get the current room, so I can change room into this new room. I know it's complicated again, and I need to include this Boxxle game level room here. .h, alphabetical order, the way I do things, okay? So let's see, let's try this out. If it works, this is gonna be freaking sweet. Okay, so let's see, it runs, I've got this, I click, I click here, and look at that. Oh, I am so happy and proud. We are getting somewhere with this stuff, right? All right, good. So I can go right to game level 1. So I'm just going to need, wait a minute, how did I get to level, oh, because it doesn't matter. I'm just supplying the text file because we only have one specific thing for this. So, oh my goodness, right? This is amazing. All I have to do now, all our hard work, all my architecture is coming together. I feel like a genius. And so now each of the level rooms we've discussed here, this takes me to level 1, run it again. This takes me to level 2. Look at that. Different room altogether. This takes me to room 3. Oh, there we go. And so each one of those rooms is different. But now we have to deal with how do I quit the game. And so now we just have to add a function to the game class to allow me, because I just want to say, so I would like to say something like this. say quit game or exit game or whatever you want to say, or exit, close window or whatever you want to say. But basically, I want to quit the game. And so I can go into my game class, my game.h, that has all this cool stuff, add that function, and I'm just to hard code it for now. Let's see, how would I want to go about doing this? Let me quick actions and refactoring. And just for the moment, I can just say exit with a process value of 0. And we can fill that in later. But now all these other buttons taking other places, and this quits the game immediately. And we have all the buttons working. We do obviously need to get the text going, but we have button behavior. We have a main menu that will now take me to the game rooms themselves. And just to kind of bring it all full circle here, what I can do in the, not main menu room, I haven't opened it in a while, the Boxxle game room level, I have all up the .8 or .cpp, I mean. So what I have here is if, and since I haven't done it yet, let me put it into the hero class instead of the Boxxle game room. So all of this code here, so I press keys to do things, but if the hero presses the escape key, then what I want to do is, do I have access to game? Nope, I'll have to include it one more time. Oh no, come on. SFML game.h. I'll have to say, okay, give me the get instance, and then call me my quit game, or what is it again? What did I call it already? Shoot. Quit game. I'm sorry, no, duh. Let me go back to game initialization room and steal this one. This is what I want. I want to change room. So I got to get room, get current room, so that I can change room into that room. And I need to include main menu room to be able to do that. A lot of includes, right? That's always the first thing. If something goes wrong, look for includes. I learned that many, many hundreds of times over my years. So, okay, test this out. Go into the room, hit escape, brings me back. Go into the room, hit escape, brings me back. Go into the room, hit escape, brings me back, and I click the button, and I'm done. What an amazing half hour to 45 minutes, right? Can you see the light at the end of the tunnel coming? We're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. This is amazing stuff. So next video, we will work on putting some text in there, and I'm just going to put in a very simple generic text, and then it's up to you to work with it however you want. So as always, swardb@cod.edu is my email address. Send me a comment or send me some questions, whatever you need there. If you want to, send some comments here on YouTube as well. And we're ready to move on to text mode, add some stuff to those button classes. Thanks for sticking around with me. We'll see you next time.